Okay, so let's take a look at how we can use Google Sheets and Glide apps to create a virtual art show app for a school. Now this app is going to be great. It's going to have two main components, and one is going to be a button that opens a form through which students can submit their artwork. It's also going to have a display or a gallery of all of the submitted items. Okay, so to get started, we're actually going to begin in Google Sheets. So I'm in Chrome here, and I'm going to head over to sheets.google.com. Okay, and I'm going to click to create a new blank spreadsheet. And now that I'm in my spreadsheet, I'm going to give it a title. I'm just going to call it Virtual Art Show. Okay, and then we're going to start configuring this sheet. Okay, so the first tab, the first sheet of this Google spreadsheet is going to house all of the submissions that students make. So students are going to submit some information along with a photo of their artwork. And all of that information is going to live in this sheet. So what I need to do is just basically set up the headings for all of the different information I want to collect. Okay, so I'm going to come over here into the first cell. This is my heading row. And the first thing we're going to collect is students' full names. So I'm just going to type full name. And then we're going to collect, maybe we'll collect what grade they're in. We'll collect who their teacher is. We'll collect the title of the artwork and maybe a description of the artwork, and then a link to the image of the artwork. And then maybe some other information. Maybe we want to do the medium that the artwork was done in, and maybe the name of the course that the students are in. Now, you could include any, some, or just a couple things. I'm just trying to give an example that includes lots of different stuff. So these are all of the things that the students are going to submit when they submit a piece of art. Now, in Google Sheets, I'm a little bit picky about how my sheets look, so I'm going to just take a minute and make this spreadsheet a little bit prettier so that it's easier to navigate. First thing I'm going to do is click up here to highlight the entire sheet, and I'm going to go to the Format menu and choose Alternating Colors, and then just give it some color so it's a little bit easier to read through. That first row, my headings, I want to make them stand out a little bit, so I'm going to make them bold. I'll make the font white and maybe a little bit bigger. And then maybe I'll just spread these columns out a little bit so we have some more room. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. And I'm going to have lots of submissions here because assuming each student is submitting 1 or 2 or 3 pieces of artwork, I might have hundreds of rows of data here. So one thing I like to do is go to the View menu and actually, freeze my first row. And what that's going to do is keep this this row here so that I can see it even as I'm scrolling down through other rows down below. The only other thing I want to do is change the name of this sheet. So you see down here, spreadsheets, if you don't know, can have multiple sheets to them. This spreadsheet I'm going to call Submissions because this is going to house all of the different submissions. Now, in theory, I could dive into Glide and get started right now, but there's one other thing I'd like to do to make it a little easier for students to submit their artwork. And what I mean is this. So we're going to ask students to tell us what grade they're in. Now, we could certainly have them type a number in, but wouldn't it be nice if when they tried to answer that, they had a little drop down or kind of a pop-up where they could just select from a list of choices? That will make things a little bit easier. So for example, if I'm doing this in a middle school, my students might be in either grade 6, 7, or 8. So I want to make that a drop-down question. To do that, to use drop-down questions in Glide, we have to have a place in our spreadsheet where the options for those questions are stored. And we do that by just creating a new sheet. So I'm going to click the plus button, and I have a new sheet that's popped up, and I'm just going to call it Options. And this is where I'm going to house all of the options for the different drop-down questions that I do. So for example, one of the questions we're going to ask is, what grade are you in? So I'm going to make a column for grade, and then I'm going to put my options as a different row. So they could be in 6th grade, 7th grade, or 8th grade, for example. Okay. And let me just pop back over to my submissions here and see where else. So maybe I want to do that for teacher as well. Maybe there are 3 different art teachers in my school, and so I want the students to be able to pick their teacher from a list of all 3. So in options, I'm going to go and I'm going to, in another column, do teacher. And I'm going to put the last names of the teachers in. So Jones, Smith, and let's say Sanders. Okay. Now, one thing to keep in mind on this options page, this column has nothing to do with this column. These are just lists. It's just basically a file cabinet or a warehouse to keep my possible options. So I'm not suggesting that Mr. Sanders teaches 8th grade and Mrs. Smith teaches 7th. These are unrelated. Okay, they're just lists, that's all. Let me just check if we have any others. Title is not going to be a multiple choice, nor is description or link, but medium and course, those could both be drop-down lists as well. So let's do one for medium, and maybe that is paint, charcoal, pencil, marker, clay, and maybe other. Okay, there's just some options. And then the other one was the name of the course. Okay, so we'll put our course names here. So we'll do drawing and painting. We'll do ceramics. We'll do, I don't know, photography. We'll do advanced art. Okay, and again, these could be anything. I'm just making it up as I go here. And so there are all my options. Now, I could take a minute and make this sheet look pretty with the colors and everything, but I'm not going to do that because this is all of the information that's going to be in this sheet, so I'm never going to have to really scroll. I'm probably never going to come back to this sheet now that it's built, so I'm just going to leave that as is. Okay, so just to sum up, I have a sheet where my submissions will go with my headings for each of my pieces of information I'm going to collect. And then I have a second sheet with my options for my multiple choice questions. Okay, so now this is all set. It's automatically saved in my Google Drive. Good to go. So now I'm going to open a new tab in Chrome, and I'm going to head over to glideapps.com, and this is the website. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the green sign up button. All right, and I want to sign up with Google. And I'm going to use a Google account to sign in. I'm going to allow access, and I should be good to go. And this is my Glide Apps dashboard. You'll see I don't have any apps created yet, and we're going to change that right now. So in this square right here that says Create App, when you hover over it, you have some options. We're going to create our app from that Google Sheet that we just started building. So I'm going to click on From Google Sheet. And it's going to bring up some of the Google Sheets that are in my drive. I want to select the one in question, which I called Virtual Art Show. So I'm going to select that. And so right now, Glide is actually building or trying to build an app for me from that spreadsheet. You get this little tutorial the first time. I'm going to just go through it and close that out. All right. So this is Glide. Now, at first glance, Glide can be a little bit overwhelming, but it's actually not too bad. What we see in the middle is our app shown on a phone here, and this is a live app, so this works. The buttons work, the search works, everything works. And as we edit the app, it's going to change in real time, and you can interact with it right here. On the left side, I have some different icons that allow me to access different tools within Glide. And then on the right side are the details. This is where you're going to do a lot of the work setting up the app itself. Okay? Now, Glide is smart, and it analyzes our spreadsheet and tries to predict what the app should look like. And so one of the things it did was it noticed that our spreadsheet had 2 tabs, submissions and options. And so it created 2 pages within the app, also called tabs, one for submissions and one for options. But the truth is, this options tab, this is not something we want to actually show off in the app. It's just a tool to hold some information. So I don't want to have this options page here. I want to get rid of this. I want to hide it at least. So I'm going to head over to the left side and go to the second icon down that says tabs. I'm going to click on that. Automatically gives you a video here. So I'm going to click on tabs, and over on the right hand side I see my two tabs, submissions and options. I don't want to display this options tab. This is just back-end stuff. I don't want to display that. So I'm going to click on it and then click on the trash can, and it'll get rid of it. Okay? And so now I only have one active tab, which is submissions. And I can click on this, and if I wanted to, I could change the name here. I can change where it's pulling the data from, but I don't want to do that because I want to pull the data from the submissions tab on the spreadsheet. And then the other thing I could do is change the little picture that goes along with it. So I can search. Let me see if I can get anything art related. Let's see. Maybe I'll use something like this. That makes sense. Okay, good. So now I have my submissions tab all set up and ready to go, and I can start to configure this page. Okay, so I'm going to now leave the tabs area and head back to the layout area, and this is where I can build this page. Now, here's what I'm envisioning for this. I want to have a button on the top that students can click on, and when they click on that button, a form is going to pop up that will allow them to submit a piece of art. That's where they're going to enter things like their name, their teacher, and their course, and their grade, and as well as the link to their artwork. So I want to set up that button. Okay. Now in order to do it, I need to change the style of page that I'm using. And you can see over here on the right side, I have all these different styles. But to do what I want to do, I need to use the details style. And what this is going to allow me to do is to add lots of different things to this page, including my form with my button, and then eventually show off all of the different submissions. Now again, Glide is smart, so it tries to predict what you want to include on in your app. So it's already added all of these different components for me, but I don't want that. So I'm going to click on these little X's and actually delete all of them. And so now I have a nice blank slate, clean slate, nothing on it, ready to go. So we're going to begin by adding that button and then building our form. Okay, so I'm going to click on the plus button next to components in the top right. And here are all the different things I can add to my app. But I want to add a button, so I'm going to go to the buttons section, and I want to add specifically a form button. And this is going to be a button that opens up a form that users can fill out. So I'm going to add that, and you can see there it is. And don't worry, I'll show you how to change colors and things later on. So there's my form button, and it says open form, and I want to change that title. So I'm going to come over here to title, and I'm going to delete that and put something else. So let's say submit your artwork here, exclamation point. Okay, and you can see it changed the text on the button. So now when I click on the button, there's a form. Look at that. A form automatically pops up for me. And you'll notice, again, Glide is smart, so it tries to predict things for you by entering some questions based on what's in our spreadsheet. But I want to do this manually. I want to do it one by one. So each of these corresponds to one of these components over here, but I want to, again, start from scratch. So I'm going to delete these components. You don't have to do this. This is just like how I like to do it. Okay, now before I add my questions, my what is your name question and my what grade are you in question, all of those things, I need to tell Glide where to send the responses to this form. And that's what they call the destination. So right now it's sending the responses to the options tab within my spreadsheet. Remember, in my spreadsheet I have two tabs. I have options and submissions. I don't want the responses to come to the options tab. I want them to come to the submissions tab. So I have to change that. So over here I'm going to change it from options to submissions. And notice, again, it's automatically building the form for me, which is fine. But again, to show you how it works, I'm going to delete all of these, and I'm going to do it manually. Okay? So now I have my form right here. I just have to start adding the questions. They're going to go to the submissions tab. So the first thing I would do is name. So I'm going to do plus, and name will be a text entry. Okay? And so this is my text entry, and you see it automatically pulled the title from my spreadsheet, so it's pretty much ready to go. But just to show you, on the right hand side I have some options here. The first thing says, where are we going to send this information to? So we want this to go to the full name column in our spreadsheet. Okay, just to remind you, in our spreadsheet we have a full name column right here, and that's where we want it to go. Okay, so that's correct. You could have a default value. You could control how long the answer is. You can also change what shows up right here. So this is all fine. I'm not going to change that at all, but I do want to make this more clear. So instead of just saying full name, I'm going to say, what is your full name? Question mark. And you can see that shows up right here. If you wanted to, you could have a placeholder like your name, and you see that shows up, but I'm going to leave that off. I think it's unnecessary. You can also make this a required question, meaning students must fill it out to submit their form, or not. It's up to you. I think that's pretty important, so I am going to make it required, and you can see it says required right there. Okay, now I'm going to go back. Perfect. My first question right here is done. By the way, if you didn't notice, when you hover over an element on the right side, you get that little green dot pops up to show you the element that it corresponds to in the app. So it's like a helpful little tip there. Okay. Now, next thing, let's see what else I want to collect. So I got full name. Now I want to do grade. Okay. So I'm going to click plus. Now my grade, remember, we want to make that a multiple choice question. So in my components here, I'm going to come down to choice. Okay. And the first thing it says is, where are we going to get the choices from? How are we going to know what the choices are? So this was the whole purpose of building the options page. These are the 3 choices that I want to appear when students are asked about their grade. So I'm going to go ahead and change the source of my options to the options tab. And the values will come from the grade column. Okay. Now, of course, we're not asking about name here. This is not writing to the name column. This data is being sent to the grade column. Okay. And the title is what shows up right here. So I'm going to make that a question. Say, what grade are you in? Question mark. Okay. And what you'll see is that when kids tap on this, they get these options, 6, 7, 8. They can select one and hit done, and it'll record it. In this case, I can actually do something kind of neat as well. Instead, because it's only 3 choices, instead of having to do this kind of pop-up option, I can also click right here and do this style multiple choice, which is a little more fun. It's a little easier. I'm also going to make it required, and so the kids can just click on what grade they're in to submit. Okay. All right, so that's good to go. So I'm going to go back, and so far we have collected, let's see, we have collected first name, full name rather, and we've collected grade. The next thing we're going to collect is teacher. Now remember, teacher is going to be a multiple choice as well. We have these 3 teachers who are our teachers, so we can choose from there. So I'm going to come back, and I'm going to add another choice question. Okay. And this choice question, again, is going to get its options from the options page, and in this case, from the teacher column. All right? And it's going to send the response to the teacher column of the submissions page. That's where it's going to go to. For the title here, we're going to say, who is your art teacher? Okay. And again, I can choose, when they click on it, they can choose their teacher. Or again, it's not too many. We can do it like this as well and make it required. So it looks nice. The kids just click on the one that's who their teacher is. Okay? All right, so now we're getting somewhere. I got 3 questions. Let me go back to my sheet. So we've now got full name, grade, and teacher. Next, we need to do title and description for the artwork. Okay? So I'm going to do that as just a text entry. All right, and it's going to write it to the title column. And the question's going to say, what is the title of this piece of art? Question mark. Perfect. Okay. And again, you can make it required if you want or not. Perfect. Now, I want to do description now. So I can either add plus and do another text component, or sometimes you might even just want to duplicate a question. So if I want another text question, I can just click on this little icon right here and it duplicates it. But you'll notice I'm getting a warning here, and that's because Glide cannot send the responses to two questions to the same column. So I need to come into this one and we're going to send it somewhere else. This one's going to go to the description column, and we're going to change the question so that is describe this piece of artwork. Okay, and perfect. So now I have my title, my description. Excellent. And we're making sure it's writing to the correct spot. Now, let's go back and see what's next. Okay, next is the image. So we're going to click to add in another component, and this is going to be the image picker. Okay, so I'm going to click on that, and we are assuming that students are going to use their phone to submit their artwork because they're taking a picture of it, and most likely they'll be doing that on a phone. So that's why we're doing it this way. The images automatically get uploaded into your spreadsheet as a link. So they're actually stored within Glide servers and they're posted as a link, but it does all that for you, which is nice. We just want to make sure that it's going into the image column, and the title can be whatever we want. So I'm going to say upload the image of your artwork here. Okay, and we're going to allow them to add from their camera directly or from their photo roll. Okay, and just to give you a sense, if a student were doing this from a computer, when they click on that button, it asks them where to get the image from on their computer. If they're doing it on their phone, it'll bring up their photo gallery or their camera, and it'll allow them to add their image. Okay, so nice and easy. All right. Then we have two more, medium and coarse. And remember, those are both multiple choice, medium and coarse. So I'm going to add those now. We're going to do another multiple choice. And this will get the options from the options tab from medium. And we'll say, what medium is this artwork in? Okay. And when they click on that, they'll have all their options here. And then finally one more. Oh, I have a mistake. You can see I have an error here. And the problem is this should not be writing to the full name column. This should be going to the medium column. So you got to make sure that everything is set up properly. Okay. Final one, choice. Okay, and this is going to, we have to get our options, and this is going to be course. And this is going to write to the course column. And we'll say, what art class are you in? Perfect. And then we're good to go. And you can see they have options. All right. So you can see we now have a form. Here's my page. Students are going to click, and the form pops up, and they can enter their name. So let's try this out. Okay, so I'm a student. I'm on the app. I happen to be doing it from a computer, but just imagine I was on my phone. I click on Submit Art. Do my full name. Okay, Billy Smith. I am in 7th grade, and my teacher is Mr. Jones. The piece of art is called Fish Swimming, and this drawing was done as part of our nature project. I am very interested in sea life and chose to draw coral reef fish. So anything you want, right? Okay, upload the image. So click on that, and I happen to have an image here saved to the desktop, which I'm going to upload. Okay, and you can see it's uploading my art. And then what medium? Let's just say marker, and I am in drawing and painting. Okay, and once I've filled out everything, I can submit it. Okay, and you can see you get a little confirmation that it was submitted. Now, if I head back over to my spreadsheet and go into my submissions tab, look, there we go. there is Billy's submission. I see his name, his grade, his teacher, title of the art, the description. Here's the link to the image, which, by the way, I can click on, and it shows me the art, okay, the medium, and the course, okay? But notice, in my app here, it's not showing that artwork. It still just shows the button. So what I want to do is build a component that's going to allow the artwork that has been submitted to begin appearing down below. Okay? So right now in my components for this page, all I have is the form. But I can add another component, and it's going to be a list of sorts because it's going to display all of the art that's been submitted. So to add that component, so I'm going to click on the plus button and scroll down, and I'm going to select an inline list. And you see right off the bat, it automatically notices my first submission. This is Billy's submission. It titled it Submissions, etc. But we can make this even prettier. We can do lots and lots of things with it. So right now, this is set up to just be a normal list, okay? And the list summary shows a few things. It has this more bold text, this lighter text, and a little thumbnail. And I can control that using all of these different tools over here on the right-hand side. First of all, the title, that's what's in bold. Right now, the title is pulling from the description. But let's say I want that to be the name. See, I changed that to name, and now it's the name. And maybe the details, I want to make the title of the artwork. Okay? The image is pulling from the image link, so that's correct. Okay, and I have some other options, but that looks pretty good right now. If I want to go even further, I could add another row of information, a caption, so maybe the grade, and you see it changed the layout a little bit. I could do lots of different things. If I wanted it to be a smaller list, I could change from list to compact list, and you see it kind of squeezes it down a little bit. What I think is best for this sort of app is to actually use tiles. So I'm going to switch to the tile view. And you can see already it looks a lot better. But I can further tweak this so that it looks even nicer. So I'm going to scroll down, and again, I have all sorts of options in terms of what's showing, etc. I'm specifically want to change the way this image looks. So first thing I want to do is it's a little too cropped like this, so I can change the tile shape to a few different options. I could make it a circle if I want. I actually think I want to make it a square. But if I have a lot of responses, it's going to be a lot of scrolling. So one of the things I like to do is use columns. So it says right now I'm doing 1 tile per row. I'm going to change it to 2 tiles per row. Okay. I can do things like give it rounded or squared corners. I can make it go edge to edge or not, all sorts of stuff. I can even have the title show over the top or down the bottom left, something like that. That might look nice. And so now every time a student submits art, it will appear in this list. Okay. One thing I don't love is the word submissions here. I think we could say something a little nicer. So I can do that up here where it says title. I can change it to students artwork. Whoops. Okay, or you can make it whatever you want. There we go, something like that. Now, just to show you what it'll look like, I'm going to go ahead and submit a second piece of art. Okay, so I'm going to click on the button again, and let's do Jennifer Gross, and she's in 8th grade with the teacher Sanders, and we're going to call it Tree of Life, and a work done in colored pencil for our nature assignment. And we will upload the image, and let's say this is in pencil, and we are in advanced art. Okay, so I've got it all filled out, and I will submit it, and just like that you can see Jennifer's art appears. So now I have Billy's and I have Jennifer's. Now the next thing is what happens when you click on one of these icons. So I'm going to click on one, and it gives me more details about the art, but I think we can make this page look much better than it does. So just like anything else, we can control how a particular page looks. Same thing with Billy's here. It doesn't look great. So I'm going to go in there, and when I go in there, you can see over here on the side are all of the components that are making up this page. But again, I like to start with a blank slate, so I'm going to delete everything from here. Okay, so now we get to choose how this page looks. This again is the page that you get when you click on a piece of art. So right now there's nothing here, and we're going to begin. The first thing we want to show is a larger version of the image. Of course, that's the most important thing. So I'm going to add a component, and I'm going to add the image component. And you see it automatically knows to pull the image link, right? So that's here. One thing that's important, we don't want our images to get cropped, and students' artwork is going to be all different sizes. So I want to make sure the image height is set to 1:1, and that way it shows without cropping the exact size of the image. Okay, so this one is a little more rectangular, but if I look at Jennifer's, it's a little bit taller. Anyway, that setting will show the full image, okay? And you can choose whether it's edge to edge or if it's inset a little bit. You can also have overlays and things, but I'm just going to leave it as is. So I have my picture. And then one of the nice things that we could do a lot of stuff here, but is I'd like to have a little, almost like a table that displays all the information about this image. So I'm going to add another component, and we'll do basic table. Okay, and in this basic table, we're just going to add rows to show the information that we want to display. So this first row automatically became name. I don't want to say full name. Let's say student, and that's going to display the name. Now I'm going to add a new row, and in this one, we're going to show the grade. Okay, so that looks good, and then a new row, and here we're going to show the teacher, and maybe then we'll show the course, and maybe the title of the art. Okay, and maybe I just want to say title, and then maybe I'll do the description. Okay, the problem with description is that's going to be long and it's going to get cut off, so maybe I don't do the description within the table here, so I'm going to delete that. But we still can do the medium. Good. Now I want to show the description because the students took the time to write a description, so I want it to appear. I just don't want it to get cut off, so I'm not going to include it as part of my table component. But what I can do is add a text component, and you see by default it actually knew that I wanted to show the description. So that's fine right there. You'll notice with the text component I can change how big the font is, I can make it a heading, all sorts of stuff, but I'll just keep it as regular. So that's one thing I could do. Another option is if I don't want to use that text component, I can use the action text component, and the nice thing about action text is it gives you this little heading right here, which makes it clear that what you're reading is a description. What I like to do is actually put that in all caps. Okay, and so there's my page. Now once you've set up this template, it's going to apply for all submissions. So here's the one we just set up for Billy. It's got our table and our description and our image, but if I click on Jennifer's, look, it's the exact same thing automatically set up for hers. And now we have a fully functioning app all set to go. The cool thing is, at any point, if a student makes a mistake or you need to delete something, you, as the owner of the spreadsheet, can come in here and edit any of the content in the sheet, and it'll automatically be updated in the app. And just to kind of prove that, let's look at Billy. Billy says 7th grade, but let's say it was a mistake and Billy's actually in 6th grade. Well, if I go to my spreadsheet and I go to Billy and I change his grade manually in the spreadsheet from 7 to 6, okay, and then I reload the sheet here, all right, it automatically changed his grade to 6. So it's very easy to kind of manage and update. All right, and so that's pretty much ready to go. Now there are a couple things we can do as well. Let's talk about the overall appearance of the app. I'm going to click on Settings, and I have all these different settings here. So I'm going to start with the appearance setting. So there are 6 different themes you can use, light themes and dark themes, and you can kind of just click on them and see what they look like. I personally like the dark theme, but that's just me. Let's say you're going with the bold light theme. You can then control this pink color using the accent colors up here, and there are a bunch that are kind of built in that you could choose, or you could pick a custom color if you'd like to. Let's go with this. All right. You also can check match devices theme. So you might know that some people use dark mode on their phones or their computers. If you have this checked off, then a student or a person who's using dark mode, this will automatically appear in dark mode for them, which, by the way, will look like this as opposed to this. So that's a nice thing to have on. As far as fonts and typography, you have 4 choices. The default is the system font. This is nice because it makes it look like a native app, but you can override that and use some custom combinations. There aren't a lot, but there are a few to choose from. Maybe we use this one here. This looks nice. And those are your basic options. Okay. Then I'm going back to settings here, and I'm going to go into app info, and here you can customize the icon that appears. So I can click here, and you have a bunch of like emoji and things you can use. So let's just search for art. There we go. Or you could upload a custom icon if you want. You can control the name of the app and the author, as well as a description right here. And then this is important, privacy. So this particular app, we don't want people to have to sign into it. We just want to make it public. So we'll make sure it's set to public. You do have the ability to have sign-ups and things like that, but we don't need to do that for our app. And then we're basically all set to go. There are lots of options, but you don't really need to worry about them. When you're ready to publish and share this, you just click on the blue share button, and it's going to ask you to publish your app, which you can go ahead and do. And here you can customize the link to your app. So let's call it the School Art app. And so the way people will get to this is by going to this link, school-art.glideapp.io. And I can copy that here. And to show you what it looks like, you can send this link around in an email or through Google Classroom or whatever. I'm going to go to it, and here is what it's going to look like for people. So it shows the app in a nice little phone. Again, I'm viewing it on a desktop. If you view it on a phone, it actually looks like a built-in app. And I can have students start filling out the form, and they're good to go. And every time they fill it out, a new item will appear. All right, and so that's just a basic look at how to build this. Of course, everything can be tweaked and customized, and you can do a lot more with Glide apps than just this, but this is a nice starting point. So give it a try. It's definitely a very cool tool and worth checking out. Thanks.